Well, last week, Donald Trump kind of shocked the world when he held a press conference with the head of OpenAI, ChatGPT, and Oracle head Larry Ellison, among others, to roll out what looked like an AI mRNA technology project to the tune of $500 billion, to which many of us in this community said, well, hold on a second. What the hell just happened here? Who got in President Trump's ear and said that this was okay to do? One of the outspoken critics of all of this is Dr. Robert Malone, the creator of the technology behind mRNA, and wrote a couple of really interesting pieces about this. He is the author of Lies My Government Told Me and Psy-War. Of course, Dr. Robert Malone was completely silenced when he was outspoken about the COVID vaccine, banned, blocked, totally deplatformed, censored, and he joins me now to talk about all of this, plus RFK's confirmation hearings this week. A lot going on in the health space. Dr. Robert Malone, good to see you again. Welcome back to the show.
Glad to be back on again. It's been a long time since we chatted.
Yeah, great to have you here. And you've been really sounding the alarm about this, what we saw last week with Larry Ellison and Sam Altman. And there's been a lot of criticism about President Trump holding that press conference about mRNA technology. A lot of MAGA supporters coming out and saying if Trump backs mRNA vaccines at this level with using AI, he's going to lose his base. So what was your initial reaction when you saw this press conference?
Well, as I put in the essay, I threw up a little bit in my throat. I couldn't believe I was having Larry Ellison lecture me and the rest of us on cancer vaccines. And frankly, what he said was grossly naive. We recently had a little conclave of some senior experienced cancer vaccine researchers that have been in this space for decades. I've been kind of peripherally involved for decades. And we all agreed that this is nonsense. This is gibberish. But I think we got to unpack this a little deeper. And I think to do so helps make sense out of this really shocking press conference that occurred a day after the president became the president, which was amazing in and of itself, amazing failure of narrative control, if nothing else, and awareness of what his base is all about, or at least a fraction of it. So Donald Trump absolutely wants to see the American development of advanced artificial intelligence capabilities. Now, I don't know if he's thought through what that really means about general AI, autonomous general AI, the singularity risk of a machine intelligence that far surpasses human intelligence, which many perceive is on the immediate horizon. But he's enamored of artificial intelligence. And one of the reasons, I think, is because right now, many people believe the CCP in China are further along in AI technology than the United States is.
And they just rolled out a big project over the past 24 hours in AI that's kind of shocked a lot of people. That,
right,
in many ways, many ways trumps what the United States has.
So I'm told by folks that participated in the prior administration, I'm not going to name their names, that Ellison has long had a really easy access into the White House in Mr. Trump's administration, prior administration. So they're basically buddies, long-standing relationship. Clearly, Donald Trump got pitched something that he wanted to hear anyhow, which was this Stargate program. Now, let's unpack what Stargate is. Stargate is not built to be an engine for AI-driven mRNA vaccine, cancer vaccine development. Stargate is built to become a major, basically server hub for advancing artificial intelligence technology. And by the way, it's calculated that its energy requirements to support this are going to be about the same level as the natural gas utilization for the entire state of Texas. These things are incredibly energy intensive. So, the discussion is that there's basically going to be nuclear power plants sited at these major hubs. That's how they are proposing to solve that little problem. What I saw in looking more carefully and considering what went down was that Larry was there to pitch this new initiative, Stargate initiative in artificial intelligence, and the $500 billion investment. Remember, Donald Trump also pitched this to the World Economic Forum when he gave his speech the other day. He mentioned the same program, but he didn't talk about cancer vaccines. He just talked about the artificial intelligence and $500 billion investment. I think what happened was that Ellison basically pitched a storyline that was intended to, giving him the benefit of the doubt. It was intended to serve as some easy justification that he thought the average person can relate to. Remember, Larry and these other guys are all in on transhumanism. They
Right.
believe that transhumanism is the future. They want to be part of that transhuman transition, which is fundamentally anti-human. They believe that the human species will go extinct and will be supplanted by machine-based intelligence. And you better get on board with it now. That's basically their frame of reference. And I've posted about this, and what I think it's fundamentally narcissistic. It is wrapped around the idea that somehow immortality can be achieved by uploading your consciousness or your soul onto some digital avatar, and then that will free you up to explore the universe and whatever other wonderful things they do. It reminds me of years ago. Remember, Walt Disney had his head cryogenically preserved? There was a
Right.
period of time when the rich were all fascinated with cryogenic preservation as a way to deal with death, right? And their fear of death. And I think that transhumanism is the new embodiment of this. But in any case, I think Larry went off script. And what he recited was basically the Moderna business plan that failed. Remember, Moderna was almost broke before the COVID crisis hit, and it got basically subsidized and rescued by whoever was behind all of that. We could speculate. Certainly, Tony Fauci's vaccine research center was part of that, but InQtel is funding new plants for Moderna, et cetera, et cetera. There's deep intelligence ties here. So I think what really happened is that Larry went off script and basically pitched a storyline that he thought would hit right at the heart of Donald Trump's sweet spot. Remember, Donald Trump is still all in on RNA vaccines, that this was a great success, that Operation Warp Speed was one of his greatest achievements, and he will not hear anything else. I can tell you from multiple people that have tried to discuss it with him, he's dug in on this one. This is not subject to negotiation. And so it hit all of the Donald Trump hot buttons: major investment, artificial intelligence, mRNA, and curing cancer, something that Biden, with his moonshot initiatives, completely failed to do, right? And so there's a little dig at Joe Biden, and then it was pitched all with fancy words that anybody that's been in this field over the last 40 years knows is completely disconnected from the reality of where the science has gone. So that's
Where
my
has the
interpretation,
science?
and I
No,
think
that's a
people have
great.
gotten wound up for no good reason here.
Well, I mean, you were the creator of the technology behind mRNA technology, so you understand this better than just about anybody. So when he was up there saying we use this mRNA technology to target individual human beings and eradicate cancer because it's all personalized, we're going to use AI to do this. Why is he wrong about that? What was a red flag to you?
So, number one, I've had multiple clients in the computational immunology space for decades. This turns out to be extremely complex. Humans are outbred. And not to go into the details, but the molecules involved in antigen presentation, which is what we're talking about, the ability to circumvent the immunosuppression that occurs with cancer, with advanced stage cancer. The cancer is really a problem of a failure of immune suppression. And underlying that is some really complex immunology that we still don't understand. So what Larry is pitching is the idea that we can use computational immunology just with a little better computational tool, artificial intelligence. And it's already been used with supercomputers and, whatever the latest generation of whiz bang is in the IT space. But he's saying that we can use AI to somehow predict the antigens based on sequence analysis of circulating cells, which, by the way, it's only a subset of cancers that have those peripheral tumor cells circulating. So he didn't tell us that part. And it turns out that the problem is not identifying antigens. The problem is understanding how those tumor cells are evading the immune response. Now, if Larry was to have said, hey, we're going to use AI to try to sort out what's going on in terms of cancer immunology, I would have said, amen, hallelujah, fantastic. But instead, he pitched this really simple story. And we've already beaten this horse. It's been used in horses, in dogs, in humans for decades, trying to come up with personalized cancer vaccines, and it just doesn't work. There was hope with melanoma, but then that didn't play out either. So what he's pitching us here is something that has been tried in a bunch of different ways, and it's based on core concepts that have been around for decades, and adding in the little sexy words of artificial intelligence and rapid mRNA manufacturing, which, by the way, we would be talking about something that is a strong six-figure cost. And also, by the way, personalized medicine and personalized vaccines are not something that the FDA likes very much. They've got all kinds of obstacles to doing this. So bottom line was, what got spun was naive at best, duplicitous at worst. Even worse, appears to have been designed to hit Trump's hot buttons. And it's just not going to happen. On our side, people are getting all spun up about stuff that I think, a case can be even made. Now this is we're going into conspiracy land here. But if you wanted to trigger and fracture the Maha coalition away from Donald Trump, this is pretty much pitch perfect. You couldn't have imagined a better psyop than this in order to achieve that. So is Larry playing a double game? I have no idea. But I do know that what he spun to the public, if you look at the dynamics there, Trump, I don't see any sign in the body language that Trump knew this was coming. If you look at the full video clip, you've got Larry basically interjecting himself. He's saying, but wait a minute, I want to tell you the good news, the thing that we can do with this is, and then he deploys this bombshell that alerts everybody and gets folks so spun up. I don't see any sign that this was something that Susie Wiles or whomever in the press room had vetted. I think it was just sprung out of nowhere by Larry. As I said, the kindest thing we could say was that it was his attempt to somehow pitch how a massive $500 billion artificial intelligence investment would have a benefit to the common person. And he's just, again, giving the benefit of the doubt, maybe he was just tone deaf that this is an issue that is such a hot button for the Maha movement.
That's fascinating. I think the conspiracies are welcome on our show, of course, and I think that could be the case here because you saw major fracturing in the base among the Maha movement and MAGA supporters saying, no. If you're pushing Operation Warp Speed 2.0, we're out of here. We're out of here.
Yeah.
And I saw a lot last week on our show, many people in our chat room who are watching right now were saying the only reason I voted for Trump was because of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and his addition to this. And where has he been? He's been silent. Of course, he's gone through his confirmation hearings this week, but there's been sort of radio silence on that. And that's going to happen this week. I want to get your take on what we could expect to see in these confirmation hearings. And perhaps we got a little tease of this from avowed socialist Bernie Sanders, who says this is if we confirm Robert F. Kennedy Jr., this is the greatest threat to society we've ever seen. Watch this.
I conclude. I mean, I think the point of what we're trying to do today is to make it clear that we potentially face a massive health hazard, maybe especially for our children. And I think the point that Senator Markey made a moment ago, what was it, back in 1900, 18% of kids never made it to 5? That's just an enormous reality that has to be addressed. So in other words, we have made, with all of the problems that we have today, and there are many, we have made enormous progress in public health and in saving children's lives. And what, in a sense, I am hearing from all of you is that is in danger, that we may revert back to those terrible days when so many children died at the age of 1 or 2 or 3.
So, Dr. Malone, what do you think we're going to see this week at these confirmation hearings? Smooth sailing or a lot of trouble, bumpy roads ahead? And do you think he'll get confirmed?
I think what I've heard is from the whips, the vote counters, that this could go either way. We absolutely have a dark money initiative managed in part by Mike Pence to try to torpedo Bobby's nomination. And it's apparently backed by multiple millions of dollars. There will be, watch this, you can take this to the bank, there will be a truck driving around DC with those neon signs that are designed to delegitimize and attack Bobby. That's the scale of stuff that they're doing. They're going to pull out all the stops to try to label and weaponize and delegitimize Bobby. They're going to try to tag him as a rabid, crazy, anti-science, anti-vaxxer that is a major a human health threat. This has been the messaging all along as soon as he was nominated. And they're going to go on, while we're using Star Trek and science fiction language, they're going to go on hyperdrive here. This is if there's an extinction level event here, the threat perceived by pharma is that their privilege is going to be severely curtailed if Bobby comes in. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see things like the indemnification for vaccines rescinded. There's a number of strategies by which this can be done even without legislative action. We might well see that there's a movement towards rescinding the almost unique, there's only 2 countries in the world that allow pharmaceutical industry advertising on television. That could well be ended. A lot of the perks and privileges that pharma has right now are going to be under threat, and they don't like it very much. So that's what we have right now is a clear indication of basically who in the larger structure of the uniparty, because this is going to be both sides, are bought and paid for by pharma. When you see people coming out and saying crazy stuff in these hearings, and you will hear it, they will do all kinds of efforts to box him in and to label him and misrepresent and gaslight him. And when you're seeing that kind of stuff, you need to look carefully because those people that are doing it are doing the bidding of big pharma. And this is going to be a nasty battle, just like sec defense was a nasty battle, perhaps even more so. So I hope that he gets confirmed. We need him in there. His challenge and job, and I can tell you, you're right. He and the team around him are totally focused on prepping and getting through these confirmation hearings to such an extent that they're hardly even thinking about what comes next. That's a big issue too. But he has to get through this or all these plans come to naught. Now, there's a scenario wherein they manage to defeat his nomination. They better be careful what they wish for, because if Bobby goes down, because Bobby will take a rational, methodical approach to addressing what has gone on, the corruption that exists at FDA, CDC, and NIH. Okay, he will go stepwise, program by program, in a very thoughtful fashion. If they knock out Bobby, the probability is that what's going to come down is the hammer of Doge. And you're going to see across-the-board cuts and unilateral actions that are going to be throwing out baby with bathwater. So pharma needs to, and the uniparty backers of pharma need to be very careful about what they're doing here, because they could well have unanticipated blowback that's even worse than anything they might have experienced should Bobby have been Secretary of HHS.
Wow. My guest has been Dr. Robert Malone, author of the book Lies My Government Told Me, The Psy War. You can read his Substack as well, where he's very prolific over there. You can follow him on X as well. I highly recommend you follow Dr. Malone on X. And I know you are off to the European Union as we speak, hopefully to knock some sense into the Europeans. Dr. Robert Malone, great to see you as always. Thank you so much. Hope you'll come back soon.
Thanks so much for having me on, and enjoy that lovely weather there in Colorado.